Chapter 7. Leader Election. Luo Cheng was weaving baskets, and several women from the gathering team were helping him. This was a transaction. When they came back in the evening, Luo Cheng discovered that these women were actually using animal skins to pack fruits. How could Luo Cheng tolerate this? Don't forget that he only has one pair of snakeskin shorts. If there are animal skins, can't he wear them? This is simply a waste of resources. So Luo Cheng took a fishing basket, added 2 straw ropes to it, and modified it into a backpack, and sold his handicrafts to them. The women quickly agreed to exchange the backpacks for animal skins and teach them how to weave baskets. Animal skins cannot hold many fruits and are inconvenient to carry. A backpack can hold more things and can free your hands when you carry it on your back. In the past, when they picked fruits, they had to put the animal skin aside first, and then put the fruits one by one on the animal skin. If they picked too many at a time, they couldn't put them all in their hands. If they threw them under the tree, they were afraid that the fruits would break. It was very inefficient. When walking in the jungle, if they encountered wild animals, they had to put the fruits aside first and then look for weapons to defend themselves. But it is different with a backpack. It not only improves the picking efficiency, but also frees your hands. When carrying the backpack, you can hold a wooden stick as a weapon in your hand. You can use the stick to scare away snakes while walking. When encountering wild beasts, you can also react and protect yourself in the first time. It greatly increases the chance of survival in the jungle. The benefits are simply too numerous. I originally planned to weave 3 baskets, but this time I only made 2. Because they're used to hold fruits, they are woven very tightly, so that even chestnuts will not leak. The straw ropes of the shoulder straps have also been widened, so carrying heavy objects won't easily put pressure on the shoulders. Several women liked it as soon as they saw it and took turns carrying it on their backs to try it out. They picked 2 deerskins from the collection team and gave them to Luo Cheng. They agreed to go find Tangman tomorrow and come back in the evening for Luo Cheng to continue teaching them to weave their own deerskins, so that everyone could get one. The women who didn't get a backpack were envious and liked Luo Cheng more. The collecting team got backpacks and Luo Cheng got deerskin, becoming the first child to wear animal skins. His friends were also very envious. Luo Cheng was not stingy. The deerskin was very large and he could not use it all, so he kept one for himself and gave one to the children, asking the mothers of the 2- or 3-year-old children to make clothes for them. There are still many things to do in the future, and I will need their help then. Now is the time to build their favorability, and I must not be stingy. Their mothers were also very happy. Who wouldn't love their own children? If there were plenty of animal skins, they also wanted to keep their children from the cold, so they were very grateful to Luo Cheng. In the entire tribe, apart from adult men, the children died the most. Children have poor resistance, and in this era without medical technology, a small cold or fever could kill them. It is no exaggeration to say that a piece of animal skin is worth a life. Primitive people are not fools. They can also see who is good to them. If Luo Cheng asks them for help in the future, they will not be ungrateful. This kind of thing of buying people's hearts is effective in any era. It was late at night, and the people who had worked all day had fallen asleep. Only the firewood in the fire pit was still crackling in the cave. Luo Cheng lay in the haystack, holding the 2 little kids in his arms, covered with deerskin and grass, and slowly fell asleep. There was no conversation that night. Luo Cheng, who had been busy all day, slept soundly. With the protection of the cave, he was able to relax completely. However, their mothers were also very happy. Who wouldn't love their own children? If there were plenty of animal skins, they also wanted to keep their children from the cold, so they were very grateful to Luo Cheng. In the entire tribe, apart from adult men, the children died the most. Children have poor resistance, and in this era without medical technology, a small cold or fever could kill them. It is no exaggeration to say that a piece of animal skin is worth a life. Primitive people are not fools. They can also see who is good to them. If Luo Cheng asks them for help in the future, they will not be ungrateful. This kind of thing of buying people's hearts is effective in any era. It was late at night, and the people who had worked all day had fallen asleep. Only the firewood in the fire pit was still crackling in the cave. Luo Chong lay in the haystack, holding the two little kids in his arms, covered with deerskin and grass, and slowly fell asleep. There was no conversation that night. Luo Chong, who had been busy all day, slept soundly. With the protection of the cave, he was able to relax completely. However, the biological clock that he had developed over decades was not so easy to disappear. Just as the sky was getting light, Luo Chong opened his eyes naturally like every morning in his previous life. This was his morning exercise time that he had never interrupted for more than 20 years. Needless to say, when I was a soldier in my previous life, in this primitive age where wild beasts roam freely, personal physical fitness is particularly important. Without a strong body, the leader who died yesterday is the best lesson. Of course, the godlike law of if you don't seek death, you won't die was also demonstrated vividly by the leader. Luo Chong's morning exercises were not complicated. A set of military boxing that everyone in the army knew was enough to strengthen his muscles and bones. Stronger physical training was obviously not something a child like him could endure. Long, distance running, push-ups, and other extreme physical training consumed a lot of salt, and Luo Chong had not found salt in the tribe yet. After finishing a set of boxing, Luo Chong was actually sweating in the autumn morning. He was thirsty again. All day long, if he wanted to drink some water, he had to run to the river to drink. At night, he couldn't even go to the river. A group of people could only drink water from a stone basin. Haha. He couldn't drink it, and he didn't force himself to drink urine, so he should be hygienic. But he had to find a way to put the water in the container, otherwise he would be stuck in the cave in winter. Besides, who could stand eating barbecue every day? It seemed that he had to cook a casserole or something. If he had a bowl of hot soup in winter, it would be great. Luo Chong was thinking about the next plan. It was dawn, and the tribesmen came out chattering. They were stunned for a moment when they saw Luo Chong outside the cave. Generally speaking, cave dwellers like them rarely leave the cave alone, especially since they are very afraid of the dark. The tribesmen were not in a hurry to go hunting today. Instead, the elder with goat horns on his head gathered the male adults in the open space at the entrance of the cave. He held the green feather crown belonging to the leader in his hand, and it seemed that he was going to re-elect a new leader. Luo Chong had no intention of paying attention to them. He really was not interested in the green feather hat. Besides, he was not an adult and was not qualified to participate in such a democratic election. But the tree wanted to be still, but the wind did not stop. Luo Chong was just planning to go to the stream to wash up and have a drink of water, but unexpectedly, Doer came chasing after him with a fork in his hand. "Oh my God, are you trying to cause trouble? Why are you running towards me with a broken fork? I'm not your prey." While waving the fork, Doer yelled at Luo Chong. In a few steps, he ran to Luo Chong, grabbed Luo Chong, and took him to the elder. "What is this for? What's the point of looking for me? I'm still a child," Luo Chong thought shamelessly. After meeting up with the 8 adults, the elder looked at Luo Chong and began to speak, using the few words in the tribe as he gestured and spoke. Listening to what the elders said, it turned out that the reason they called Luo Chong here this time was really to let him participate in the leader election. In fact, the reason was very simple. They were forced to do so out of helplessness. All the adult men in the tribe had to go out hunting, but now there were only 8 people left, including an old man, a cripple, and a stupid 6-fingered man. The remaining 5 main forces had to feed more than 50 people in the entire tribe. If there was no fresh blood joining the hunting team, it would be difficult for them to survive the coming severe winter. Although Luo Chong is a minor, his ability in hunting the moa alone yesterday has been recognized by the tribe members. That was the largest prey ever captured in the tribe's recorded history. In this era when human beings are still very small and are struggling for food every day, a tribe of more than 50 people is really nothing. Maybe any flock of sheep you can find anywhere has more people than this tribe, and any wolf pack is more powerful than this tribe, not to mention the test from nature. Luo Chong even felt a sense of responsibility and pressure for a moment to keep these fellow humans alive. Chapter 8. Leader Election, Part 2. Life. These two words are very simple, and they can be broken down into being born and living. Luo Chong was working hard for this word at this time. If he wanted to achieve these, he must first obtain the position of leader. New food sources, new hunting methods, new weapons, all of these require him to reform. But if he does not become the leader, no one will listen to him. The election method for the leader is simple and crude. The candidate must be unarmed and not allowed to carry any weapons or seriously injure anyone. The most powerful one will be the next leader. The elders will not participate in the competition. The cripple is also very self-aware. Six Fingers is a bit stupid. Although his fighting ability is not low, he cannot lead the whole tribe. Feather and Stone can only be ranked behind in fighting ability, but they are very smart. The remaining is the competition between One Ear, Beast Fong, and Strong. The tribesmen had formed a big circle. Even the smallest kids came to watch. Several children aged 2 or 3 had already put on simple animal skin clothes that had just been made the night before. Luo Chong was also standing in the circle, but he didn't want to take action right away. Others didn't intend to let this kid be the leader, they just wanted him to replenish the hunting team's losses. Luo Chong did not take action because he knew that he was not physically strong enough, and if he took action now he would be facing a round-robin battle, so he only had to defeat the final winner. He still had the confidence. If he could not even deal with a few primitive people, it would be a shame for the special forces. Duer and Shuya have already started fighting, punching and kicking each other. The fight is not interesting at all, and there are no moves. Neither side has weapons, they can only punch and kick, at this time. It's a competition of who is stronger and more ruthless. One Ear and Beast Fong were already entangled, grabbing each other's shoulders and arms, trying to knock each other down. If these two guys didn't look like humans, Luo Chong felt that the scene in front of him was more like two bulls butting heads. One Ear's endurance was not very good, but his explosive power was good. After a struggle, One Ear was grabbed by the shoulder by Beast Fong and pushed backwards. One Ear kept retreating, and his feet left 2 shallow depressions on the ground. It was not until he stepped on a stone that he found an opportunity to fight back. At this moment, Duer's explosive power was demonstrated. He pushed the stone with his legs and pressed his upper body down. With a pounce, he pinned Shuya under him. Shuya struggled for a few times, but failed to turn over. He was gasping for breath and could only reluctantly admit defeat. The two men climbed up one after another. One Ear looked at the green feather crown in the elder's hand with his eyes shining. It was not only a symbol of leadership, but also a symbol of strength. Shuya pushed Duer and pointed at Dali, reminding him that there was still one more and not to be too happy too soon. Duer shouted excitedly. Luo Chong didn't understand what he meant, but it seemed like a provocation to Dali. Dali also looked eager to try. There was dew in the autumn morning, and the ground was still a little wet and soft. For a heavyweight like Dali, every step he took would make a hole. When Duer, who was only a little over 1.7 meters tall, stood in front of Dali, who was nearly 1.9 meters tall, one could tell the difference between them at a glance. This is so unscientific. In Luo Chong's opinion, the average height of early primitive people should be about 1.5 meters, but the height of adults here is far higher than this data, and is almost the same as the height of modern Earthlings. He is not an expert in ancient human research, so he didn't think too much about this issue. In the end, he could only explain this problem by saying that this is not the Earth. There are 2 moons in the sky, so what is there to be fussy about? Dali, who was over 1.8 meters tall, stood there like a small tower, making Duer feel like he had no idea where to start. This was an unequal contest. One Ear roared and took the lead in attacking, but the primitive people's hunting method was really bad. The most common method they used was to pounce on the prey and then hit the prey's head with a stone. However, this resulted in them being helpless against prey that was larger than themselves. The situation in front of him was the same. Duer rushed to Dali, hugged Dali's waist with both hands, and slammed his head into Dali's chest, trying to knock Dali down by hugging and throwing him. One Ear had great explosive power, and this blow was really powerful. Even with the force like a small tower, he was pushed back a step, but he was only one step back. Dali spread his legs forward and backward, stabilized his body again, and grabbed Duer's shoulders with two big hands like small dustpans. Duer wanted to quickly withdraw when his attack failed, but he was caught by Dali in an instant. Before he could react, he heard a loud roar in his ears, and then he felt himself flying. He grabbed One Ear's shoulders with great force and threw him out sideways. Puff! After a muffled sound, One Ear flew out of the circle and lay on the grass, chewing a mouthful of mud. The friends looked at One Ear lying on the ground, groaning with a constipated expression on his face, as if they knew how much pain One Ear was in. Fortunately, the open space in front of the cave was all dirt with few stones, and after a while, One Ear groaned and crawled up. But it also proved the physical fitness of these primitive people, who were really tough. However, in this battle for the leader, Duer had already lost his eligibility to run for the election. It would be embarrassing if people spread the record of him being knocked out in less than 5 seconds. Duer stood aside in disappointment, watching the elder hand the feather crown to Dali. Luo Cheng finally took action. He knew that in order to survive in this world, he had to gain leadership, otherwise no one would listen to him. Now, as long as he defeated the big guy in front of him, everything would be fine. Dali took the feather crown with joy and smiled foolishly. The tribesmen were also looking at the newly appointed leader, ready to follow the first task assigned by the new leader. At this moment, a discordant voice sounded, "Don't worry, I still have it." Luo Cheng took 2 steps to Dali's side and grabbed the feather crown in his hand. Roar! He roared loudly with some anger in his eyes. The elders beside him were a little surprised and confused, and the onlookers around were bewildered. Why hasn't it been finished yet? It would be better if it was finished quickly, so that the new leader could assign work. If they didn't collect more food, how would they survive this winter? Dali got angry and grabbed the feather crown, but he didn't expect Luo Cheng to not let go. With a snap, a few feathers fell between the two of them. Looking at the broken feather crown in his hand, Dali was furious and pounded his chest and yelled at Luo Cheng. Luo Cheng was not to be outdone, and expressed his intentions to the elders in one of the few dialects in the tribe. "I will defeat him and become the leader."